So this is just a brief overview of what you will need to convert to digital TV. If you're presently using a cable or satellite dish, you will not have to worry about this. But if you're using an old tube type TV with a glass picture tube, and you are using an antenna, this is what will apply to you. So roughly, if you've determined either by using the manual that came with your TV, or if it's sold, you don't have a manual, you can bet you need a digital TV converter, the set-top box they call it. Once you know that, you'll need to look at the antenna. If you've been receiving signals okay so far with your antenna, you're probably not going to need a new one. However, if there are some transmitters further away and your antenna doesn't receive those, you may need to upgrade your antenna. Now, there is some advertising that says get an HD TV antenna. There's really no such thing. It's a UHF antenna generally. There may be a few leftover VHF signals, but by and large, all you need is a good quality UHF antenna. The technology for antennas is 50 years old. It came along in the 50s and 60s. And there is essentially no difference in one of those than what they're claiming to be an HD TV antenna. So, excuse me, if you're already getting a good signal on your antenna now, chances are you won't need to improve. This is not a how-to on to make an antenna, but just to show you how inexpensive. This is just a pizza box with some PVC tubing, a little bit of aluminum tubing, some copper tubing left over from the ice maker for a freezer, and a little 300 ohm adapter, and then that leads to an antenna lead that goes directly to the TV. So you can see this antenna, not very big, and this antenna essentially picks up 90% of all the channels in digital TV. So it's not going to be an important issue for you to find a high quality TV antenna if you're already receiving those on your analog. However, it's kind of hilly where I'm at, and there are some obstructions, and so typically if you don't get a very good signal, you need to get a good antenna. The height is usually important in UHF, and distance is important. So you may have to eventually put the better antenna in your attic or up on your roof. If you go to the website and antennaweb.org, you can type in click on find an antenna, and that will let you put in your address, and they will then give you the distance for the antennas, the transmitters from your house, and the compass direction. And in addition to that, the antennas now are color coded, and that will tell you essentially which antenna would work best for where you are. The further away the transmitters get, the bigger the antenna will need to be, and the higher it will need to be in general, and in order to bring in those signals. So go to that website, antennaweb.org, and you will find what you need there in terms of where your transmitters are. And if you're already getting a good signal, you may not even need to mess with that, but that would be a good place to start if you're thinking you're getting weak signals and want a better antenna. So just to cover a couple of the terms that you've probably heard, DTV and HDTV. DTV, which is digital TV, is what all the television stations will convert to in February 2009. In order for you to receive that signal on an older analog television, which uses the glass picture tube, you will need the converter box. However, many of the stations will also transmit in HD or high definition TV. You'll still be able to watch those, but you will not see an improvement in the quality of your picture. So there's digital TV, which all of the stations will transmit on, and then there's a subcategory of that called high definition. So just don't look for your picture to improve in quality. It's just a different way of transmitting programming over the airwaves from the old analog days. And just to be aware that the improvement only will work with a later TV. For instance, something that looks more like a computer monitor, an LCD for instance, and there may be some tube type or projection that can render a high definition, but an older analog will not. So you'll still see the program and you can watch them, but you won't see an improvement on that. To get your coupon for the converter box, you'll need to go to the dtv2009.gov website, and you'll get 2 coupons for $40 off each towards the box, and then they have a list of approved converter boxes that you can apply those coupons to. And then let's briefly cover how to connect the converter box to your TV, very similar to the days of the VCR, which brings up a point as well. If you're used to recording your favorite TV show on a VCR while also watching on another channel something simultaneously, you will not be able to do that anymore. The VCR has the old analog tuner just like your TV, so it will either need a separate converter box, or you'll have to put the one converter box you have on the channel that you're recording. So you have 2 options there: either record it as you watch, or get a separate converter box and hook the VCR up to that. So a little more confusing there, but basically you cannot record and watch at the same time using a VCR. From that, let me show you a graphic that makes it very easy. It's just like in old VCR days. You have 2 options. One is to use the old black coaxial cable from the converter box to your TV, or if your TV happens to have what they call component video, and that's where you have the yellow for video and the white and red jack for audio. You can use either one of those options to connect your converter box to the TV set. So that about covers it. First thing you want to do is check with the manual that came with your television. If you're pretty certain it's old enough and you're going to need a converter box, go ahead and get to the website to order the coupons. If your antenna is already working pretty well, you might just want to take a chance on that and decide later. There are some really good UHF antennas. DB2 looks like an oversized toaster oven rack with a bow tie antenna connected to it, and then they make multiples of that, a DB4, DB8. Very good antennas, somewhat directional seeming though, so if all your transmitters are in one area like they are for me, that would work very well. If they're all spread out across your city, then you may need a bigger, more omnidirectional antenna. But aside from that, you can already be watching digital TV right now. In fact, in our city, there are some digital television channels that are not being transmitted over analog. They totally switched and no longer transmit analog, so you may actually get some extra programming by switching now. So good luck.